I'm Kris Oppenheim. People call me Church. I'm the owner of Interstate Inc. in Los Angeles, California. We cater almost exclusively to recovering addicts, and we have a program in place to help artists with addiction issues get their lives and careers back on track. We're trying to raise awareness, educate others, and reduce the negative stigmas associated with addiction. We want everyone to know there is hope, we do recover, and most importantly, even broken crayons still color. Hi, thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Broken Crayons podcast here at Interstate Inc. I have a very special guest today. She is my best friend. She's my wife. Ladies and gentlemen, the other Kris Oppenheim. Hi, baby.
Hi.
So, want to talk about how we met?
So in 2017, I had decided that I had had enough. You know, I got addicted to Oxycontin. Back in like 2006, I started dating this guy. Now, I was 26 years old at this point. I'd never done a drug in my life. You know, I had done the whole marry my high school sweetheart, had kids with him, and I guess after I had Ian, I mean, I didn't realize it at the time, but like I had postpartum like horribly, and it just, I never got to be a kid or a teenager or a 21-year-old, so that hit at 26 years old after I'd had 2 kids. And I met a guy, and that was it. Cocaine every weekend. And then I found Oxycontin, brought me down from that cocaine when I ran out. And then it was fuck the cocaine. All I wanted was the pills, you know? And, like, dude, even like with my nursing background, man, I didn't realize how addicting those things were. You know, I'd be around people and, oh, I'm dope sick. And I'm like, whatever, dude, it's all in your fucking head. And, yeah, then one day I woke up and felt like I had the fucking flu, and the guy I was dating at the time was like, snort a pill, and I felt better about 10 minutes later. And that was it. That was, you can use that as a blooper. Oh, yeah, that's like a nervous habit. But yeah, so I started down that path with him, and it was just, you know, a disaster, dude. You know, one toxic thing after another.
You told me that his addiction ultimately took him out, right?
Yeah, he had taken a bunch of Xanax and wrecked his car not even a quarter mile out of his driveway. He had nodded out and I guess floored it and flipped end over end, and that was it. You know, and it's crazy at the time. That shows how fucked up our disease is. It's like, I remember, you know, because I lived about like 40 minutes away from him at that time, and I can remember driving the whole way up there, like being like really upset, you know, and like it was crazy because when I look back, you know, it's like, was I really upset that he died, or was I upset that like the person that supplied me with drugs for, you know, almost 10 years had died, you know? And
yeah, because that's how selfish we are as drug addicts.
Yeah, it was crazy, you know, and you know, I went back and forth from my parents, you know. My parents never had ever dealt with addiction, you know, so they were pretty enabling with letting me move back in, you know, and then I'd fuck up and, you know, I'd get on Suboxone and then start using my Suboxone just for when I couldn't find anything else. And, you know, and like eventually my mom got tired of doing that shit and dealing with that, and me nodded out and burn holes in everything. Cause at this point, like, you know, Oxycontin was going and it was all 30s, you know, and 30s didn't make me nod out. So I had to throw some, you know, Xanny bars in the mix of that. So, yeah, I was gone pretty much all the time, you know, and then I get a little bit of like, I won't even say clean time. Like I'd get a little bit of like, you know, where I got to the point where like I wouldn't withdraw anymore, but I would, you know, get some pills here and there. And like, my dad got diagnosed with cancer in 2014. And I was just on it here and there before that, and then that was just it. I couldn't deal with it. I got really fucked up. And he passed away in November, 8 days after my birthday. It was like he held on for my birthday and then let go. But that was it for 3 years. Like I was gone. Like, I had ended up marrying the drug dealer that actually, used to get me and the guy that had passed away. His name was Jake. I had ended up marrying him. I thought that would be a good idea, Let's marry the drug dealer. But it was like, I look back now and it was like, well,
its brilliance is its simplicity.
Oh yeah. He lived off of mommy. So I moved in with him, and I basically isolated myself in a basement for 4 years, and I would try to get straight a little bit, and then it was like, I'd be at work and I'd have a little, clean time. And the next thing he's like, hey, I'm out back, I got us some pills, and there I go again, and then it got to a point where there was no work. He worked, and I just stayed home and got fucked up, and it was a problem when I was fucked up for him, and I was the piece of shit. I just couldn't do it. I right before I got my shit together, so I had this little like beater car that I drove, and it was a 5-speed, and like I was going back up to Frederick, because I lived in Montgomery County at this time in Maryland, and I was going back up to Frederick to get pills off of somebody. Well, I nodded out and I hit a curb. And I got out, I changed the tire, and put the spare on, and then nodded out not even another 200 feet after I started going, and I popped the spare. So I had a friend that like I knew if I called him and was like, hey dude, I'm going to Frederick to get some pills. Can you come up here and, pick me up? I fucked my car up. He would come up and get me. So he came up, we went and got the pills, he took me home. And when I had done this, I had bent the rim on the car. So I get home and I'm thinking, it's going to be a great idea to get the brand new Cadillac and pile all the kids in the car while I'm fucking Xanaxed out, and go get a tire and a rim. The next thing I know, I am upside down in a car. And my kids, thank God for my oldest son in the front seat, because, where we're from, like Hicktown, we don't tell the kids in the back to put the seatbelt on. He looked back, and I had my stepson in the car too. And my oldest son had told them in the back, put your seatbelt on, because she's, something's going to happen. And I hit the back of a cement truck and I flipped. And all I remember is like, it was like an instant sober, like instantly. And like, I dropped myself to the roof.
Holy shit, what the fuck?
Yeah. And, I dropped myself to the roof and slowly got my kids out, and I remember I had to kick the door open because it was jammed. And I got them over to the side of the road, and I had nodded out again on the side of the road. So like I got very lucky, because they took me to shock trauma in Baltimore. They thought I had a head trauma. I never got any charges from that. We all walked away. Like we had some airbag burns, a couple scratches, but like God, my dad, dude, everything was watching over us that day, and like, it's crazy because like that didn't even stop me. Like the little beater that I had wrecked before, 2 weeks later, I went and was all fucked up and hit 2 parked cars. And car was totaled, dude. And I was all fucked up, and I knew the lady that came out of the house had called the police. So like I walked up to the 7-Eleven real quick and threw everything that I had on me away in the dumpster. And the cop come and like he made me do breathalyzer, which of course I blew a 0 because I was fucked up on benzos, and tried to make me walk the line. Well, I tried my best, and so he detained me, put me in the back of the police car, took me to the police barracks, and got really lucky that time too, because my nephew was a trooper out of that precinct. And they called him and he said, I'm off duty, do whatever you want to do. Well, the cop ended up telling me just to get the fuck out of there. And I don't know, some young kid was out in the parking lot and I remember giving him like $50 to drive me home. And I got lucky, man. Like nothing seriously ever happened to me because like I made horrible fucking choices, you know. And finally it was just like the marriage that I was in, you know, of course, you know, marrying your drug dealer, it's already toxic anyway. So I mean, it was even
Turned out to not be a great idea.
Oh yeah, you know,
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. You know, I at one point I tried to hang myself in the basement by a phone cord, and like, you know, it was just screaming and yelling and abuse, and I couldn't do it anymore, you know. And I was all fucked up one day, you know. At this point I'm thinking, you know, like something's gonna happen and I'm not gonna have anywhere to go. So it's like, you know, at this point, because every time I went to treatment it was just to appease everybody. You know, I wasn't doing it for myself. It was, oh, I'm going to go away for these 28 days and then they're just going to think, oh, she's cured and everything's going to be fine, you know? And so I was all fucked up and I'm like, I don't even know how I managed to make phone calls to treatment centers, and I managed to find one. And June 6th of 2017, I flew my ass to California. And at that point, I'm thinking this is just going to be another, you know, 28-day shit. And I'm going to go home and, you know, everything's going to be great. And because every other time I went home, you know, I went right back to him. And the control was the pills. You know, that was how to keep me in the house. And, dude, like, I did something different this time. I didn't go to an inpatient. I went to an intensive outpatient program and sober living. And they actually detoxed me off of the Xanax, you know. And I think the huge thing with that was that I got to get out. I wasn't stuck behind four walls, you know, for you know, 28 days. And I got out and I started meeting people in recovery. And, you know, me and my huge codependency issues, I started dating a 25-year-old, which that went well, you know. That was a fucking disaster. And it just shows where our minds are, you know, when our insecurities and like...
That first year.
Oh, yeah, needing validation from whoever would give it to us.
Which is awesome, because I met you in my first year.
First 3 months. Yeah, you know, that's the crazy thing. Like, and I even, like, in November of 17, I went back home, you know, and I had, almost 6 months at that point, and, you know, to go and spend time with my kids for the holidays. And as the plane was leaving L.A., I looked back and could see all the lights, and I started crying, dude. And I don't know, this was home. It felt like home, and I knew every time I went back to Maryland, it was just horrible, you know? So, you know, I talked to my mom, and like, because obviously, you know, I was clean, I wouldn't be able to come back out here and go through a program that, you know, had like a sober living that I could get into because I was clean. So I ended up, you know, working it out with my mom. What was it? January 18th of 18, I came back. My mom had given me enough money to pay for rent up front for a sober living. It was actually the sober living that I had went through my IOP. And I ended up, you know,
connected.
Yeah. And I, you know, because that was my family at that point, you know, and so I had eventually started house managing for them so that I could keep, you know, like the, you know, not paying rent and, you know, doing stuff like that. And, you know, because I mean, my family had lost all trust in me, you know, like I was really shocked that my mom even gave me the amount of money she did for me to come out here and get on my feet out here. And, you know, and that felt good. Like it felt good that, you know, that
somebody you fucked over actually trusts you again.
Yeah. You know, and I did that for a while, you know, and you know, there's some, you hear about all the shit that goes on in California with, you know, the insurance stuff. And, you know, one day, it was a Sunday, they're like, yeah, we're going to close this place in 3 days. Here's $300. Good luck. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, they started sending all the clients to other places. And then there's me, you know, with over a year clean. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? You know, I can't just check myself into a program. And I had ended up getting into this other piece of shit house, dude. And I mean, just, you know, one of those places where like the owners don't give a flying fuck what you do as long as they're making money off of you, you know. And basically that ended up being just a place to store my shit because I've
started sneaking you into my server.
Yeah, all my clothes were hung in your closet. You know, I was working at Tarzana at that point, so it was like I worked 4 nights a week. So I was like, yeah, or 3 nights a week. So 4 nights a week was the only time I was at your house, you know. And the guys didn't give a shit because I did all their chores and cooked them food. It wasn't until Michael found out that we had an issue.
You were there for about 3 months before we got caught.
Yeah.
And then we got our first place. So, like, I think we should start talking about everything you and I have built and where it started. 'Cause it's a true testament to not only how this thing works, but it's kind of a funny story, too. Because you came in the tattoo shop on Friday the 13th, April of 18. And here's this girl. We're the same height, the same eye color, the same hair color. We're both named Chris. We're both originally from Maryland. So I stole your consent form to get your phone number.
Which, when you first started saying that to me when we first got together, I was like, this dude's fucking psychotic.
Yeah, we're meant to be together.
Yeah, like,
It's
like
fake.
the numbers and this, and I was just like, oh Lord have mercy, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? But it was crazy because it, you know, like I wasn't even looking for that. Like it, you know,
Neither was I. Actually, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because for me it was quite the opposite. I knew that I had an issue with hooking up with girls and putting too much attention into that, and in the past. And this time around, I decided I was not gonna. No distractions. I don't need no distractions. I want to get my career back on track. I'm gonna get this recovery thing, and then you came along and I fucked that all up.
Was, for me, it was crazy because it's just like, even though like I know I have serious codependency issues, dude. Like that was one of my biggest things, and a lot of that, stems from the way I was raised, and I had an amazing dad. So it was like I was always looking for men to take care of me like my father did, and I had no idea how to be independent. And, like we started with nothing, dude. We had this little back house that had no kitchen.
Oh, we can go back even further. When I fucking packed all my shit at the sober.
Oh, yeah.
$2.5 million sober living house. It's a fucking mansion. It was Cat Williams' old house.
Yeah.
It turned into a sober living. And I packed all my shit and moved it into the bomb shelter in the backyard of your fucking sober living.
Yeah. It was crazy because we, it had a lock on it. We were always wondering what the fuck it was, and it turned out to be a bomb shelter. Yeah, that was great. And then, we moved into that little, it was a pool house basically because
After sneaking you in and out.
Yeah, I couldn't live in your sober living, your all male sober living anymore. And, like no kitchen. We had a bathroom and a little area for our bedroom, and I think our bathroom might have even been bigger than the living area because your office was in the bathroom.
Yeah, it was like this oddly large bathroom that I was able to stick a desk in.
Yeah.
And just draw obsessively. I don't know.
But we were happy. Yeah. Like I had started working in treatment at Tarzana, and you were tattooing people for EBT cards.
whatever
in the
it
beginning.
took to get work out
Yeah.
there.
And
Straight up just trading anything, and it was, I don't know, man. I think it's a cool example of how this thing can work ultimately, because I just stuck it out. We started with absolutely nothing, and in sober livings, I can't even begin to, like, how do we even explain it? It's hard work. It was perseverance. It was fucking, for me, early on, I knew I had to do step work because I never did in the past. And Chris, my addiction was 25 years. This is a little different than your story, even though we're basically one and the same with all the crazy similarities with our name and, hometown, not hometown, but home state. That's where the similarities end. We're otherwise two people from totally different sides of the tracks.
oh yeah,
yeah. I was shooting dope before I was old enough to drive a car.
Yeah.
And but it didn't matter because we had that one thing in common, and that was desire to stay clean and build a life that we didn't want to fucking lose.
It I don't know, man. Like, I never ever expected this. And like, I fought the step work shit all the way up to last year, dude. Like, 3 years clean, it was like, dude, I don't need to fucking do that shit. I can do this, as long as I can get myself to the point where I'm not withdrawing, I can do this, and like, that's the only thing that had changed in my life, is I just wasn't using. I was working in treatment, and it's like, how they say when you work in treatment, it becomes your program. That's exactly what happened to me. I felt like I was doing what I needed to do to be of service while getting a paycheck. It's just not like that, man. And, like, we lived in that little shithole until, some shit went down back home with my youngest son. And, I had to fly home and file for custody of him. And, like, the whole time I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, his piece of shit stepmom is going to do everything she fucking can to try to keep me from getting him. And she did. All kinds of letters. I'm a piece of shit because, I'm a drug addict or whatever. And, well, it didn't work because the state of Maryland found us fit to raise a child.
It didn't work because that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's another example of how this thing works. Like, after me, the gutter junkie, you flipping a car with your kids in it, ultimately, you and I were the best solution to the problem instead of being the problem. And I think that's what people need to hear.
Well, it is. And I always say that because, like, there's so many moms in the program. Like, I admit, like, I used a lot because I didn't want to feel. That's all why I used, like, the divorce from their dad and, like, the guilt and shame of breaking up that family and, like, thinking that, I'm never going to be that mom that they need, and to be able to get my shit together, get our shit together, my kids weren't babies when all this shit happened. When I flipped the car, they were 14 and 15 years old. So my kids firsthand dealt with my addiction. They weren't little where they wouldn't remember it. And, my son has, coming out here is just, he has thrived. He is a totally different kid than I was when I got him out here almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, he's got friends. He's met people that he would have never had, all in the program. Which at first I thought was kind of, do we want to introduce him to drug addicts? And the truth of the matter is, these are all kids his age who experimented with shit, and they're on the other side of it already. They already know the fucking horrors of addiction.
Yeah.
He's not meeting kids that are yet to experience a lot of that shit. I don't know. He goes to work with me and works at the IOP. He's my little assistant, and he absolutely loves it. He enjoys going. He wants to go to the events that they throw.
Yeah, it's awesome. That he wants, but he also, and we joke around. Like, we were when Eric was working on that car over at one of the sober livings, and we got on the topic of me flipping the car, and you know,
He said,
somebody had asked him something, and he was,
he said, I don't know. I was asleep.
and I said, and so was I.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that was, I mean, it wasn't funny, but we make jokes out of it now, and, life is fun. Like, I want to have fun in life. I was so miserable for so long that, like, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy it, like I dropped my first fourth step last weekend, with Peggy, and it's just, I can say, it's not like booyah, like everything's fucking great, but it's
liberating.
It is, and
I'm so glad you came to that realization, because it's the only realization I ever wanted you to come to when I was pushing you to just give it a try. Fuck that.
well, yeah, but you know how I am. I'm stubborn, so I don't want to listen to anything you
Stubborn
have
is
to
a
fucking say.
Understatement. Jesus Christ. I met my match with this one. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Which is interesting for me, because I was in relationships in the past. I've always been very controlling. This time around, it was letting you be you, which was new to me.
Find my own path.
Yeah, that or just, I don't know, man. I don't even know how to explain it. Look at that ring pop.
That's dope. Yeah, I mean, like, just look at, like we got Ian, and it was like, I mean, dude, like, yeah, we moved on up from the fucking pool house, but we still had a 1-bedroom guest house, and Ian was on our couch for a year and a half.
You just brought up another really good fucking point. So we got, like, we had him sleeping on the couch in the 1-bedroom for a year or whatever it was, but the other thing that I wanted to touch base on was the fact that we're part of a community where everybody just wants to see the person next to him thrive.
Yep.
And Michael had stopped by our house or apartment, whatever you want to call it, for whatever reason. And he saw, Ian sleeping on the couch, and ultimately he was like, nah, screw that,
Yeah.
Like, the house we live in now is 3-bedroom. It's in his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the type of people we're surrounded by now.
Yeah.
This shop is the perfect example. It was like fucking, they shut down the other location because the lease was up, and that's just how it worked out. They were like, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm only here because of you guys. I'll probably leave California, because if I get a job tattooing somewhere else, tattooing takes up all my time. I would have never seen any of those people again. That's what I told them. And they said, fuck that. We'll get you a storefront. I'm sorry, what? You'll get me a what?
And it's like, it just amazes me sometimes, because, you say something, and it's like, well, yeah, we'll do that. And I'm just like, what? Like, people, I ended up working for, Michael, and he called you and was like, is your girl working the steps? And,
yes.
And I was.
You started.
Yeah, I'd started, and so I started working at the IOP, and it's crazy because it's like, it's work, but it's also like my whole family that I got clean with, like me, you, Jesse, Joker, all of us started all of this at the same time, man. And like, looking at how far we've all come, and
all working together, and still in each other's lives. And,
like,
I was 40 before I realized the importance of community. When I came out here, I still kind of fought it, but like you're saying, dude, it's the same people. We know we can count on each other. We know.
Well, you know how I am. Like, I'm like
not exactly a people person.
Yeah, like, go out of the house. What, dude? I just got home. I ain't leaving.
There's similarities. Same height, eye color, hair color, name. Both from Maryland. All that good stuff. Other than that,
no,
we're the complete opposite.
Yeah,
which is in a lot of cases why this works.
it's like, I love being here, but then sometimes, like, I know on the weekends you're like, hey, why don't you come to the shop? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going to go to the gym and take a nap.
Well, it's funny because I always make the joke that, like, you know, you're into like working out and sports and fucking cars, and I draw and cook.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we had that joke the one time with your markers and all of that, and I had jack stands and an oil pan, and you know, it was like, yeah, it was a big ass jack in the back of the car, and you know, and but it's, you know, it works, man. Like, we've come so far, you know, and I can say, like, even when times, you know, where I'm like, fuck, you know, like this is going on or that's going on, it's like, I don't know. We always, or maybe it, you know, God always finds a way, you know, everything ends up working out, you know, and it's like, I'm just starting to work the steps, you know. Yeah, I dropped my fourth, but it's like, you know, you know, my character defects are there, dude, you know, and it's like, the one thing is, like, now I recognize them now, you know,
becoming self-aware.
Yeah, like I start to think in my head.
Recognizing that you actually play a part in some of the fucking shit you complain about.
Oh, fuck yeah. You know, like, and I'll get pissed off about something, and like, I am one of those, like, I will cut you with my words.
You don't say.
And I will cut you with my words, you know, and it's like, I don't even think.
I was the one using the knives.
Yeah, I don't even think before I speak, and now I catch myself. You know, when I start getting that fucking, I can feel my body get hot, and I'm getting flushed, and I'm like,
temper.
I gotta walk away. And I'm not always good at that. Sometimes I still, you know, flip shit. But like, I can recognize it now, you know, and you know, I always say, like, I'm my father, you know, my dad was a Marine, and that sternness, and I watched how he was in life, you know, and it's like I'm the baby of 5, you know, so, and a girl, so like, I was like spoiled freaking rotten, you know. I was like, you know, the apple of his eye, however they say, or whatever. I could do no wrong. And, you know, I watched my brothers went through a lot of shit with my dad. You know, my dad was one of those that, like, don't sit down at the table with your hat on, don't put your elbows on the table, and he'd whack the shit out of you if you did. Well, not me, but, you know, and like, so I saw my dad like that. I saw my dad be like that and get what he wanted out of life, where, like, my brother saw it and didn't want to be like that. And my brothers can be, you know, passive, you know, and yeah, I thought it was a good thing being that way, you know, like, that's the way I would get what I wanted, being an asshole, and you know, I'm not saying I still won't tell you how I feel. I'll be very blunt and very honest, you know, but I try to come off in a different way than I used to. Yeah. You know,
a little less abrasive. That's all it takes.
Well, and I also think too, like, at the end of the day, like, what's it gonna help? You know what I mean? Like, it's just gonna take my peace, you know, and it's just not worth it. You know, like,
it took me a long time to come to that realization too. I think the only real difference between, you know, where I was at with things as far as like the whole recovery thing, you know, I had a much darker road that lasted a lot longer, you know, and I was beat when I came out here. I had my ass whooped, you know. I knew what would happen if I kept fighting everything, and I knew to just go with the flow, because I couldn't fucking handle it anymore, you know.
Yeah, my darkness was in my using. You know, like, I had a lot of family shit come out, you know, how we think, like, our parents are, like, invincible and, like, they could never do anything wrong, you know, and, like, I found out a lot of shit about my parents, you know, when I was 16, and, you know, that had a lot to do, I think, with the way I looked at my mom for a very long time, and, I blamed my mom for it. I didn't blame my dad for any of it, you know, and I had a therapist, Farah, when I was at the IOP out here that I first came to.
I remember.
And it was like, she was like, why don't you blame your father, you know? And he was a part of it. And she was like, your problem is the men in your life can do no wrong. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah, I was like, holy shit.
He was a really good dude otherwise, you know?
Well, yeah, you know? And I was like,
came to the realization that he doesn't walk on water.
Yeah, well, that and the fact that, like, every man in my life except for my kid's dad, because he was, you know, I don't know, we won't even go there, but
Enough said.
Yeah, yeah, I would let the guys in my life walk all over me, you know, like. It's crazy because, like, I didn't start using till I was 26, you know what I mean? And, like, I had all these, you know, like, I mean, he was my main relationship before that. I mean, you know, like, we started dating in, like, 10th grade, you know, and, like, it was like this is the most normal relationship that I have ever been in my life, you know? And it's like.
What? This one?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of
scary.
It's
because, like, when I married, you know, my high school sweetheart, you know, it was like, I felt like I had to, you know, like, we'd been together for so long, our families were so close. It was like, before I freaking knew it, the wedding dress was bought and the wedding was paid for. And then a month before the wedding, I ended up pregnant with, you know, my oldest son. And it was like, well, you know, maybe the baby's going to help.
Obligated.
Maybe the baby's going to help.
Yeah, and that'll change everything.
You know, and then, yeah, baby didn't help. And then, oops, I slept with him one time after I had little Lonnie. And I got pregnant.
Oh, again.
And I was like, well, maybe this one will help.
Jesus.
Yeah, no. You know, and I don't want my kids to hear this and think, oh my God, our mom never loved our dad. Yeah, I love him, you know what I mean? I always have love for him. I wasn't in love with him. And I don't think, you know, I never knew a certain kind of love until they laid my oldest son on me after I had him. And that was like the first time in my life I had ever experienced true love. And I don't think I've ever experienced love with a man until you know what I mean? Because it's
I know for a fact that I've never been in love until I met you. You know, like you were talking about the relationships of convenience, or I had hostages. You know?
Checks out.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, I had always gotten myself into situations where I had to rely on them for something, whether it be money or drugs or a house, you know, a roof over my head. And, you know, like, this is the first time where, like, I've ever done something equally in a relationship. Now, obviously, I don't make the same amount of money that you do. You know what I mean?
Jesus, like, that fucking matters.
You know, it's like we both put in, and, like, we're one. Like, we do this as a team.
Yeah. Without a doubt. 110%.
And,
like, you know, you're a lot of what goes on behind the scenes in my life. You know, a lot of people just see this. They don't even know where it came from. It was
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We built it together.
You know, and
it with the help of the community.
Well, yeah,
part
of course.
You know?
Oh, yeah, we wouldn't be where we are without the special people in our lives. Right. You know, like we don't, you know, I have my son here, like, all our family's back east. So, like, our holidays and stuff, man, it's like I say, I'm with my California family, like, you know, and it's, you know, like,
just not blood related.
Yeah, you know, and it's but it's like, I feel closer to these people, I think, sometimes than I have ever felt to my own family, because I can be me with them. You know?
Yeah, because they understand things that normal people don't.
Well, yeah.
You know, we can joke about, you know, where we came from, because we got to make light of it. You know, if I didn't laugh, I'd cry. But when we make those jokes, they fucking laugh too. My mother is appalled by half of my humor.
Oh, dude, I try not to even tell my. Well, I mean, I've told my mom a little bit more now since.
Really, you're on the other side of it.
Yeah, you know, and she just, you know, doesn't. Can't believe some of the shit. Like, you know, she never ever thought I would. Shit like that would come out of my mouth. You know,
you just got "eat shit" tattooed on your leg.
I did. That is totally checks out, right?
The little heart-shaped candies with "eat shit" in them. Oh man, I'm pretty proud of myself. Having fucking made it from, you know, where we started, obvious humble beginnings. What kind of advice would you give someone who's just starting out on their path, the newcomer, the guy or girl who has absolutely no fucking clue what to expect and is scared to death? What do you say to them?
It is scary, you know. It's for a lot of people, it's the unknown, you know. Like not everybody, you know, most people aren't like me. They didn't start out at 26 years old. You know, they've been doing this shit since they were 10 and they have no idea what normal life, whatever normal is, you know, and I just say, stick with it, man. Like, you know, it's,
ride the wave.
Yeah, exactly. What you always say, ride the wave. Like there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, you know, but
I realized early on, it was this weird, like, epiphany that I had early on where I thought to myself, you know what? Getting high is the only mistake I can make that I can't, like, other mistakes I can learn from, I can grow from, I can, you know what I mean? Like, I can, I don't know, a business venture that fails. Oh, well, big fucking deal. But getting high, that's the one that'll just, everything will crumble. Yeah. Everything.
Yeah. You know, and that's like, I mean, they start to feel, and that's like one of the scariest things because it sucks in the beginning, man. Like, you know, like my dad, I didn't grieve my dad until, you know, a few years ago. So I had to finally let myself feel that because it was going to keep taking me out, you know, and the biggest thing is just to stick with it no matter how, like I always say, like, you know, getting clean is uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
You know, and, find your people, man. Network, work the steps. You know, it's
Yeah, I actually I remember hearing one time, you know, like, oh, the rooms, the NA, it's all so cliquey.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but I heard somebody say they're not cliques, they're support groups.
Yeah.
And they'll welcome you in with open arms.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it there's an amazing life out there, but it's not free. You have to put in a lot of work.
Which scares the shit out of people, because if you were like living in a fucking, you know, a tent for the past 5 years, work?
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
But you think about it, like, you know,
but it's the most rewarding work you'll ever fucking
like, I would get up every day and bust my ass to go fucking find what I needed to not be sick, you know, and that was more work, I think, than...
Without a doubt. And, you know, it's a difficult comparison because that one came with the phenomenon of craving, that, you know, that physical need, that fucking psychological hold that it has on you. In this case, you just, I don't know, man. It's like I don't want to be dependent on a fucking drug anymore. I didn't want to be, there was just so much fucking shame and guilt, and I wanted to see what the fuck I was capable of. I wanted to fucking live instead of just existing.
Yeah. I never dreamt life could be like this.
No, it's pretty fucking awesome. Yeah. Like, you know, I come up with an idea for a podcast and just go ahead and do it. You know, you can actually give new things a try, and, you know, like the whole situation with your son being out here. You know, my stepson. That's what somebody.
Well, yeah, and being able, like, I mean, Jesus, you didn't have your kids in your life pretty much ever, and they spent Thanksgiving with us out here this year. You know,
two of them. My oldest, we got to get her out here still. I've been talking to her a little more lately. But yeah, building relationships that I thought were fucking burned down completely. I don't know, man. That's just such a fucking good question. It's a question that I meet new people and I really just don't know what to say to them.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, we hurt for so long. And
I think a lot of it is we have absolutely no self-worth when we first start to come around, right? And I'm just now realizing this. Like it's above and beyond advice to give a newcomer.
mm-hmm.
We need to help them achieve that self-worth by just giving them the time of day.
Mm-hmm.
Just being there for them, being there with them, hanging out with them.
Mm-hmm.
Showing them that somebody gives a fuck.
Yeah. When I got clean, I didn't want advice.
Because most people in their life, they had fucked over to the point where they were thrown to the wolves.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's risky because, I realized a long time ago, you're either going to be around addicts in recovery or addicts in active addiction, because if you're not around addicts in recovery, chances are it's because you're fucking using.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we get close to these people and they just aren't getting it, and they go back out and they don't come back. They can't make it back.
Yeah, we've lost how many in the past month? 9, I think.
It was 9 in a few weeks.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you saw it back when I first started using, you know what I mean? But like, dude, like you pretty much are guaranteed now. Like,
it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. You can't survive this thing anymore. The way the drugs are these days, and they're only getting stronger and stronger, they will fucking kill you.
Yep.
So anyway, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Broken Crayons Show. Thanks for hanging out with my wife and I, and please like, comment, share, help us spread the word so his voices can be heard. Peace. Hell no, you didn't.
Thank God he didn't. Thank God he didn't have the needle on my fucking skin.